Welcome to episode 2 of the NerdShredz Podcast. This was an exciting chat with R2K, or Rams. He's an ex-pro gamer, coach, and eSports lecturer. So enjoy. So guys, I'm joined here with Rams, or R2K. So Rams, how about we just start off nice and simple, and you can sort of tell everybody who you are, maybe give everybody an idea of, say, like your development, like where you came from, your start, and how you've came to where you are just now.
Oh yeah, so my name is Ramesh Singh, also known as Rams and R2K. I've been in the esports scene for nearly over 20 years, and still going. Been playing games all my life, to be fair, ever since I was little, and family introduced computers and stuff like that. But playing like competitively really in '99 with a Quake 3 Arena. I just went from there, really. So Quake 3 for 5 years, and then went on to Unreal, Battlefield, Trapmania, and a few other games. And then, joining with Team Dignitors in 2006 for 10 years.
Cool.
And then doing other things as well, really. So, so along with being in a team, doing hosting, TV, that sort of thing, really. So, yeah.
Yeah, good variety there. So another thing I'd like to ask as well, so like your very first, say, video game, maybe in a competitive standpoint, maybe just the first video game you remember playing, your game development, what was the first thing you remember playing, and like what other games did it lead to playing?
Oh God! So I mean, we had like the Spectrum Sinclair ZX.
Wow, old school.
Back in like 88, 89, stuff like that, and I think it was around that time anyway. And then we had like I think like my first sort of gaming on that was like California games, so it's like the BMX and the skateboarding and all that. It got me interested in gaming because my brother got a brother, and he was interested in gaming as well and all the tech side of it. So we both started playing, and then when the NES came out, we got that, and then Super Nintendo, the SNES, Mega Drive, Mega CD, and we had all that really. So we went from there and kept going from every sort of iteration. So from Nintendo, it was like the NES, SNES, N64, GameCube. Mr. Wii, but went to Wii U instead.
Yeah. That's right.
Went to Wii U instead, and then the Switch, and then with Sega, it was like Mega Drive, Mega CD, Sega Saturn, Dreamcast. Before, So we had all those iterations. We were very big in our gaming, and then it just led to the PC as well. So that was PC was like 96, 97.
Yeah.
So we had our. There was a company called Compaq. Compaq at the time did something called the Compaq Presario, which was an all-in-one PC. So it had a CD, had a floppy drive.
Oh, okay.
And it was a big CRT monitor, and that's when we've had our first sort of few PC games. But it was like basically every sort of famous game on which iteration. So like Nintendo for Mario and stuff like that. Played all the Marios there. Sonic, of course, was Sega. So basically, it was just playing every sort of game.
Everything. Yeah. That's cool. It seems like you've almost dipped into every genre of games there, which is pretty cool. It's like starting off gaming. I think the first game that I remember, not even competitive, but it was just, you mentioned like old CRTs, was like Doom. I remember playing my dad had like a PC that I think it was still maybe even like an 18 back then, but I don't know how games back then can be like an 18 when you can barely make out gore and stuff, but I remember just sitting playing this, and it was like, you can't go and play it. I'd sneak on that PC and just sit and play like old school original Doom, That sort of started the I need to start playing more games addiction. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, like when we was playing on like the SNES and stuff like that, you had like Starwing, which was Star Fox, of course, and you had like cool, Super Mario World, and I was into the wrestling games as well, so a few wrestling games which I played with friends. It was really the N64 when it started to all going a bit more competitive because GoldenEye came out. And then GoldenEye, we used to play in the youth club at high school, and there was always like 4 of us who were like beating each other. So it was like we were like the top dogs, and we had little competitions against other years as well. So we sort of had, that was like our mini sort of events, to be fair, in the youth club. So got competitive then. But then there was an event where, like, well, along with my friends as well, outside of school, who I've been close to for many years, we started playing like the competitive games, so like Mario Kart and wrestling games, WCW versus NWO Revenge and all that.
Yeah.
Along with GoldenEye and then F-Zero X. And then, but the funny thing was F-Zero X, there was a event that my brother took me to back in the NEC, and it was called the CBBC Big Bash.
Okay.
And this was like CBBC, of course, is a big thing in England, where it's the children's side of things, the children programs. But they held something in the NEC which had all the children stuff, and Nintendo were there, and they did an F-Zero X competition.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
it was kind of hilarious because they just invited. Well, it wasn't a competition, but it was like inviting people to come up and play against each other in a little mini tournaments.
Yeah, back competitive side. That's cool.
Yeah, so funny enough, it was F-Zero X. I went up, brother was watching me behind me, and I managed to just dominate everyone. It was just hilarious. I turned around to my brother and I just shrugged my shoulders. And that was easy. And yeah, so I sort of but it was like my sort of first competitive side along with GoldenEye. So it started getting more competitive.
It's just when you realized that you were sort of like a little bit better than people that were like your age, or at least like played games to your standard. Yeah.
Yeah, I had like a different vision of gaming. Like most of these would just play casual, but I had this sort of like sense, this like focus of being in the mindset of like playing competitively.
Yeah.
And then like along with that, we had the PC, and of course we had Wolfenstein, we had Doom as well. But it wasn't until Quake 3 Arena came out in '99 when we started really taking pace, myself and my brother, like to start playing properly, like competitively, because we just love the fact that you can go online. Of course, back then it wasn't broadband; it was 28K modems, 56K modems running through the phone lines, and it was always a bit of a bitch because we'd start playing at like in the evening, and then we get a phone call and it just interrupts.
Off, man.
Yeah, so it was kind of hilarious at times, and like if my parents wanted to have a call or something, they couldn't do it because we were on the phone line.
No phone calls, man. There's a tournament coming up, no one answers the phone. That's just the way it's got to go. But yeah, man, that's old school. That is definitely.
Yeah, and by then, around 2000, when the broadband age came out, so like cable internet, or now it was known as Blue Yonder then, and you had NTL, and this was before Virgin Media, of course, before they took over. So NTL, BT had ISDN and ADSL. So all these connections that most people were not really fond of back then, this is what we had, and we just started the rollout of
from
fiber.
Well, it's funny you mention GoldenEye, because I do remember that even being like the first game that you could really play with your mates and just take enjoyment on absolutely smashing your mates at a game. I used to love. It's kind of ridiculous looking back, a little bit sad, but inviting my mates around to play games I know I was good at. Just have bit bragging points at school, just being like, remember that time we played GoldenEye and I absolutely destroyed you? Yeah, that was good,
We still say that. I've still got a lot of my school friends and we still talk about it at times, and how my sort of role now, it started really from them lot, and of course my friends who are, close friends of mine. When we started going around go around to his house, and we started playing like F-Zero or Mario Kart and all that, and it was just the competitive side of it. So that's what really got me competitive, really. And then when Quake came out and we started getting used to it, there was these formations of little leagues. So back in 2000, it was like Jolts, Barry's World, Wire Play.
Oh, wow, I haven't Barry's World in a while.
So back then, and this is when we were playing and these were like Sunday night leagues. So we had like loads of players, different divisions, all set up by the guys at Barry's World and Jolt and Wireplay. Sunday night, and it just getting bigger and bigger. So and then grew from there. Joined our first team, which was known as the CIC, or Cable Internet Clan, and this was before Blue Yonder, so we kept it CIC. So yeah, and then it just kept going on there and getting bigger and bigger, and then started joining multiple teams as well for Quake. And the thing was, in Quake 3, they had modifications. So you had Rocket Arena 3, you had Freeze Tag, Instagame, and all that.
Well, it was like one of the first games that really did that, wasn't it? It just sort of opened up for people to do mods and things like that. Like, I think there was a while ago, I can't remember his name now, I'm blanking on it. It was one of the main developers of Quake. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was talking about how they wanted to really open all these mods up for people to, experiment and do their own thing with the game. And it did definitely take the game from like this is a standard game, this is the way it is, to, let's see what you guys can do with it sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And this was the same time as Counter-Strike 1.5 was coming out of world beta and all that. So, back then around 99, 2000, it was either Counter-Strike 1.6 or it was Quake 3 or even Unreal Tournament, those sort of 3 arena type games. And it was really, packing a punch at the time. And Quake, again, the thing was with Quake, this was mentioned by Odie in a podcast recently, he did with Red Eye, is that you had to play in different teams for different modifications. There was not like there was no contracts or anything like that. So you could play in different teams just for different modifications. So I could play in CIC for CTF, then I can play in another team called Defiance for Rocket Arena 3. So there was all that sort of options and stuff like that. So it was really cool then. But nowadays it's changed because of like money and contracts and all sorts.
So just to take you back a bit there, you did also mention, a brother. So is that your only sibling? Your brother?
Yeah, my older brother, and he's the one. He's more the techie side. He was in gaming and before I sort of take over, so we both played each other. But he got more than you? Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So there's a lot of rivalry between the two of you playing games growing up, was there?
It was a bit of fun, to be fair, but he didn't take it as seriously as I did. I think it was more casual side. He did try a bit, but then his focus went to different places, which was good. And he was more the tech side. I don't know any of the tech side, so he anything that is broken on my side, I always go to him. So he was a techie.
Being the older brother of two, I think growing up, especially around all the different types of games I played, there was no way I'd be letting him beat me in games. It was just my mindset being way too competitive. It didn't matter if it was like a game that wasn't that competitive. Like Dynasty Warriors is one we used to spend an obscene amount of time playing, and it would just be like a playthrough, but I'd still be trying to kill more guys than him, like anything. Even now, like we're in our 20s now, I could still go see him play a game, and I don't know what it is. I still couldn't let him beat me in that game,
I mean, that's the same thing. I mean, back then it was like, we still played it. We had to share a computer. So it was like at one time he would go on, I would go on, and vice versa. But it came to a time when I just started getting a bit ahead a bit more. And he took a back seat to doing more other technical stuff, So he, but yeah, it was like he paved the way for me in the sense he gave me the opportunity to just go a bit more. And I took it really. And it worked out. And, as you know, where I am now. But, there could have been a time where he could have said no, but he took the opportunity and it was all good. So I'm grateful for all that opportunities from the family, really.
Yeah. So another thing I'd like to ask as well is again, it's quite interesting to hear people's origin stories of their usernames. So obviously currently you're referred to as R2K. Have you always been referred to that, or have you had a lot of different variety usernames growing up?
So this is kind of a strange one because back then, back in like 99, 2000, you wanted a cool nickname. Now this was I tried so hard, and I thought R2K was a great name, and then I tried it to add my part of my real name like Rams to it, and it was a bit frowned upon by my brother. So it was like, we did that. Rams 2K was a bit that doesn't sound very good. So tried to think of other things else, but I tried to relate it to Quake, and the only thing I'd come up with was ready to kill.
Yeah.
So, and it was like every time I'd come back from school or on the weekends, I'm always ready to play Quake or ready to frag someone. So R2K, and it was ready to kill at the time. So I just kept it like that, and it doesn't get as used much now, so it's always Rams 2K now these days because I've got older. I don't really care what my nickname sounds like, so I just go with that. But yeah, ready to kill was more like, I come home, I play, I'm ready to bash anyone, do my best and kill and frag and stuff like that. And it got me places. I mean, I started in Division 4 of the leagues, got into Division 1. It wasn't until 2001 before Michael Odell, aka Odie, scouted me out in a capture the flag match, and he saw how good I was because he was a defender of the flag. I was an attacker, a runner.
Were you just playing in scrim style matches when he saw you, or?
It was actual matches. So this was matches for Jolt and Barry's World and other leagues, Savage League, I think it was at the time, and he saw how good I was at running flag.
Okay, cool.
And he messaged me the sort of like the next night or the next day, and asked me if I wanted to join him in another team called NV. And yeah, we started really doing well with NV. There was a bit, and then we had a player called Crystal Tips, who I actually didn't know was actually female, but she, Crystal Tips, was one of the best female players in Quake 3 at the time.
Wow.
And ripped me to pieces. And it was only until I got into a voice program known as Roger Wilco at the time. Roger Wilco, this was before Ventrilo and TeamSpeak, but Roger Wilco was the main program, and she was a lovely lady, and she worked with Channel 4 here in the UK, yeah, and before she moved to America. So she's living in America now, doing other things there. But yeah, she was one of the best sort of defenders along with Odie, and it was a piss take because she was so bloody good and she was one of the best females around. And I didn't really like, back then with females, it's sort of frowned upon, but I never really cared. She was just so bloody good at the time.
Well, even then, I mean, like back then it was even more rare, but now to see like a professional female gamer is still almost unheard of. You'll get I'll still see some people that are unbelievable from streams I watch mostly, like from a StarCraft standpoint. You'll still see some female gamers that are in Grandmaster playing at StarCraft level, but seeing them come through to tournaments, it just doesn't really happen. And I'm not sure if it's just like lack of qualification, like they just can't qualify, they can't get scouted the same. I'm not too sure what like the actual limitation is, but obviously I'm only limited to like what I'll watch, which is like mostly MOBAs, RTSs and stuff. I'll still occasionally watch some first persons, but yeah, it's so rare to see like a female come through the ranks, and playing proper competitive play.
Yeah, but the biggest problem really is the male generation of gaming is that they think females shouldn't be in gaming. They should be in the kitchen or going doing housework or something like that. And that's always been the biggest problem. Is like anytime a sort of female tries to come up, as they'll always have some sort of slander by other male people, and then you'll see it on social media, and it's like you should go kill yourself, or you should go be in the kitchen and stuff like that. And it's this sort of male generation where they don't give females a chance, and where females do have a chance. When they do very well, they just get the piss taken out of them, and it's a bit of a shame, really, because a lot of female gamers that I know, I've encouraged to do don't listen to people like that and just do their best. And it's kind of funny because some of these female gamers beat the male counterparts, and then they're frustrated and they're angry themselves. And it's like, well, it's your fault for being crap.
Yeah, you set the standard, so yeah, exactly. Well, so it's interesting as well because I feel like a lot of parents, especially. I mean, I've seen it in my family as well, where sometimes young cousins or something have came up and they'll, even just for watching games on Twitch, like they don't understand that like this is what's happening. Like the new generation are watching gamers or even watching stuff on YouTube. It's not like they'll sit and watch cartoons to the same level, And even she'll ask for like this sort of stuff for like Christmas, like I want consoles or a PC. Whereas like even the parents or sisters are pushing them towards wanting like more girly stuff for Christmas. So it's like I feel like that alone, if you're not brought up in an environment where like you can do what you want sort of thing, I feel like you're almost limiting what they can do when they're older. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean that's the thing these days is that you got more options, and females love to play everybody loves to play games. That's the thing. It doesn't matter whether you're man, woman, we all love to play games of some sort, whether it's mobile, whether it's handheld. It's out there, and the times world changes, the times change as well. But some people just don't like that sort of thing, and it's very hard. And sometimes they're very narrow-minded. So, when it comes to it, I see a lot of females at like iSeries and EGX and stuff like that, and I give them props. If they can play the game, they can play the game. I've got to get up against female FGC players, and some of them are really good. And I don't really care if they beat me. I just love the fact that there are a lot of female people who are coming to it. And you never know. The thing is, you never know. You might find your partner in the gaming sector. So it's very nice to have that sort of that sort of thing, that context.
That's one thing I think is quite good with the gaming space as well. I feel like unlike some sports, You know, like for example, let's take football, where you have like women's or men's football, where you know if they were to cross over, there's like physical limitations obviously there. Whereas when it comes to a gaming standpoint, it's like almost it's black and white. You are good enough at that level or you're not, you know, and you putting the time in to do that practicing, you can still end up as good as like a guy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly, and the opportunity is there, but the problem with, unfortunately, is the mindset of males when they put down a lot of females, and that's the problem. That's why they're not encouraged to go out and do this. And the thing is, you see now as well, there's only female only tournaments, and you know it's to encourage them to get into it, but you know they come up against the male counterparts and they have trouble, and then they get berated and stuff like that. You know, and it's a shame really, because there's a lot of closed-minded people out there about it, but you know,
yeah, it's a shame.
It is a shame, but it's just hopefully in the future there will be a time when there'll be mixed leagues, and you know there is players in mixed teams as well. You know, you've seen it with Overwatch League, with Giguri in Shanghai Dragons. You see it with some CS teams as well, when they're playing maybe scrims or ESA or something like that, or you know, it is there. I mean, even League of Legends as well. So I should say League of Legends as well is another game.
That's right, yeah.
That has a bit of a mixed team. So it is slowly but surely coming, but it's going to be a while before there's any sort of major progress, major mix-ups and stuff like that. But you know, I look forward to the day, and especially like you know, we'll get into it about as I teaching my students and stuff like that about that sort of thing, and you know, they encourage a lot of their female friends to play games. And
see, you always we touched on a bit there just briefly. So your parents as well. That's another thing I quite like to touch on. Especially in Asian cultures, a lot of them are talking about, because again, I'll watch a lot of StarCraft, so like it's a lot of Koreans that are playing these games, and they've started doing like series of how they started playing StarCraft, and like obviously the difficulties they faced coming from some are like really poor upbringings as well, and their parents forcing them to just jump in and get a job, because obviously pursuing a career as a professional gamer is just, you know, unheard of, especially back then. How were your parents when you were telling them I want to pursue games? Were they quite open to just let you do what you wanted to do, or were they, you know, you need to get a real job sort of thing? Because I feel like from my standpoint as well, my parents are very like, you know, don't spend so much time playing games. Like going out and playing with your friends was very much like forced upon me, you know.
Yeah, it was about the same thing, to be fair. Like, you know, it took me years, and they saw me on the computer a lot, and they saw me not going out and doing things, and you know, I wasn't doing the work, and you know, I did have a bad sort of period in terms of exams, really, because I was so good at Quake that I forgot about sort of my exams and stuff like that. So I did get bad grades in GCSEs and stuff like that. But you know, it took me a while to prove to them that I was good. You know, I asked them if I can go to events. They left me a LAN event in Coventry known as Savage LAN.
Okay.
And I proved, and I came back with like, it was like a bit of winnings, but it was more pride, and it was more like products. So it wasn't like money as we get now, but it was more about pride, a little bit of money, maybe 50 quid, 100 quid. And the products, so like a case or something, or, you know, fans or something like that. So it took me a while, but once I started winning from that, and I proved to them that I was doing it, and then said, yeah, go with it. You know, you're doing something that's a bit constructive. It might, you know, it's fun, stuff like that. And then it was till 2004 when I traveled over to Holland for a Quake 3 Capture the Flag tournament. It was the European Championships, and it was, you know, flying over to Holland for the first time with friends that I've met online, that I've talked to online, and meeting up at the airport. And it was great fun. You know, I was looked after. We looked after each other. And it was actually my first European Championship that I won in Quake 3 Arena. CTF. Yeah, that was my first European one. I won like divisional titles and stuff like that in Quake.
The UK,
in the UK, online. But online. But going to Holland and actually cementing myself as one of the best flag runners or best players in Capture Flag at the time. So, you know, and I remember when we celebrated, we all had, you know, drinking and stuff like that.
Good experience.
And then, it was a good experience. Well, it was a sort of experience if I remembered most of it, because I had straight up gin. And I drank it straight up, which is the worst thing you should do. And you know, that was the first time. And then I think I was talking like fine, and I just like halfway cut out. I was about 19. So I was drinking, but I didn't know about gin. So and I offered, and like the Dutch guys and offering it. I was like, hey, let's try it out. And it was nice. It was strong. It was nice. And then they told me that I started talking and I just collapsed. So there's a picture of me like they were actually like two people taking me by the legs and then by the arms and then putting me into another room on the bed.
Who says gamers don't know how to party, man? That's it.
Yeah, exactly. So it was the first sort of time, but celebrating. But I came back on a coach with a trophy and a bit of a certificate, or a little plaque and stuff like that to show my parents, and they were happy that I was going on with it. So I kept going on with gaming. Actually, before then, 2003 was the first time I met Odie physically. So we went to the Intel Bloodline Championship, which was in London, and it was the first time I met Zachabus, who was an amazing player. He still is. He plays now, but he was amazing. Yeah, he plays competitive Fortnite, but he used to play then Unreal, and he was just an insane player.
Cool.
And it was like the first time we sort of myself, Odie, and Zach met, and it was kind of cool because Odie then was making Team Dignitas in 2003.
Yeah.
So he had 3 years. Zachabus joined him, I believe, in 2005, I think, as a jeweler for CPL and Painkiller, I believe it was. Maybe Four Kings. I can't remember. It's a long time ago, but I joined in 2006 for Team Dignitas along with Odie for Quake 4. So he was a manager. I came back with him, reunited with Quake 4.
Can you also, sorry, because again, a lot of my audience will, they're more into like RTSs and MOBAs. Can you just explain? I think a lot of people will still know what Quake 4 is or how it sort of works, but could you explain a little bit of like how like a competitive play would be done and what kind of game it is?
Yeah, so Quake 4 at the time, it was similar to Quake 3 Arena. It was TDM, it was CTF.
Yep.
But it was just focused on them really. TDM mostly at the time. Before that, I joined. I'm remembering things that I forgot about now. Is this, you're getting my brain to work. But actually, I joined a team called Reason Gaming.
Okay.
So they've actually re-emerged, actually.
Yeah, I haven't heard of them before.
Yeah, but they've re-emerged recently because they were part of the Gfinity series. But they were big as well in Quake and stuff like that. But I joined them for a few weeks, 2 weeks, before I got an offer from one of my closest friends. And then I spent a week thinking about it, and then I said yes because I didn't want to disrespect Reason. I wanted to talk with them because I could have just upped and gone.
Yeah, just taking it.
Yeah, but I thought I'd have a chat with Reason about it. They were my friends as well, but this was a big opportunity in Team Dignitas back with Odie. And it took me a week really to say yes, but I wanted to really flesh it out with Reason, and they were happy about. Well, they weren't happy, but they were glad that I didn't just get up and leave sort of thing. Yeah. So we had that chat, and then they were happy for me to go, and it was like 2 weeks after I met him in a LAN called Cov LAN 3, and that was an amazing LAN because it was an amazing piece of footage. But yeah, I played against them. In the LAN TDM, beat them. Then we played against the top French team known as AAA. They're still around, known as Against All Authority. Yeah. Smashed them. And then we got to the finals, and it was one of the best finals that we ever had in Quake history because it was for the top players in the Quake 4 battling it out. And there's a link on the Team Dignitas YouTube, but it was one of the best maps known as Over the Edge.
Yeah.
And it went into double overtime, and it was commentated by Tosspot and Red Eye.
Oh, you need to link me that, man. I'll put it in the description because definitely I actually look back at quite a lot of the Quake stuff because I actually remember like a lot of the competitive scene videos popping up at the time because it's like Quake was in my mind one of these games that were credited with like the birth of esports. It's like up there with StarCraft, like original Quake. So it's like the first kind of games where you could compete in a professional level, make a lot of money out of it, if you were really good.
It was like one of the skillful FPS games, along with it was skillful FPS along in terms of team and solo. CS at the time was 1.6.
So how impactful do you think that actually is to like esports now? You look at how Quakes came up and you compare it to say modern first-person shooters. How do you think that sort of developed into like games now?
Well, to be fair, I mean, rather than the games, it's the people. So without Quake 3, you wouldn't have had Odie. who is massive right now. You wouldn't, if without Quake 3, you wouldn't have had Too Good, who does the Too Good show studios and who's creating Diabotical. Without Quake 3, you wouldn't have DJ Wheat. Without Quake 3, you wouldn't have Red Eye. Without Quake 3, you wouldn't have.
Quake player. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, he was part of a team called 519.
Oh, okay.
So he was with players like 04 and CZM.
Yeah, so a lot of DJ Wheat stuff was more just from the StarCraft stuff. He would pop up all the time. That's cool that I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he was in Quake 3 when it started, and he was part of, like I said, the team 519. Without Quake, there wouldn't be DDK. Yeah, who's in, without. There's so many people out there. Without Quake, of course, you still got Cooler who's playing. You still got Toxic. Without them, you wouldn't have those sort of people. These are old school people like Cooler, Toxic, Kilson. These are proper old school players who have been playing in Quake 3, Quake 2 even. Yeah, exactly. And these are the people. And some of these people that you see now who are working in Twitch, who are working in studios like Creative Assembly. Twitch, Mixer, YouTube. These are guys who came from actually Quake 3. So a lot of the people that you see right now in these top companies are actually from Quake 3.
Yeah, they've actually just had like this foundational game sense that they've now taken into not even professional gaming, but just like the gaming community in general.
Gaming community in general, gaming businesses, without us guys in Quake 3, a lot of it, Sturmy is another one, Italian himself, who was, again, he's part of Face It as well. So Face It, DDK, Sturmy, all these people that I talk about, these guys who are still going in the background and still making waves in the scene, not as players, but they are making waves in businesses.
Yeah. We'll see. Sorry, excuse me. That was another thing as well, because like I was never really a good first person. I always consider myself like average at FPSs. I could smash my mates in like a local game, but to go online and play games, I was only like average. But I would still love watching first person shooters. And one of the biggest ones I remember watching or spending a lot of time watching was MLG Halo 3 days, watching all these like professional tournaments. But what do you actually consume? A lot of other tournaments or actual even games, not even just first person shooters. What other tournaments do you sort of watch?
I watch as much tournaments as I can. I mean, when I was in Dig, back then I used to watch as much tournaments. I used to try and support the teams, so I mean, joining Team Dignitors as a player, and then when Quake died, I could have left really, but Odie said there's other ways that he could use me in a sense, and he found me ways to be a coach, so like to mentor younger players, and to mentor players or be a manager of players, so looking after them when they're at events and stuff like that. And I did that, so it gave me all the skills that I have right now is thanks to Odie and Team Dignitors, really, because I wouldn't have that sort of opportunities. The last 10 years that I had from 2006 to 2016 was some of the best years of gaming that I had. It's a shame the way Dignitors is now. They're okay now. I mean, they're bought by the Americans, of course, Philadelphia 76ers, but it's not the same, of course, it's new. It's new for this year, this era, I guess. But when I talk to people about Dignitors, they always refer to the OD's Dignitors.
Those days, Well, that was it. I remember we went to DreamHack back. I think I was still at university, so I was like 21. It was a long time ago. And it was one of the major, I think it was the first big tournament that like League of Legends was getting presented at. And I went over there with one of my friends, but we were mostly interested in StarCraft. So we go and watch all these games, and watching them play, there'd be maybe like 100 people if you're lucky, like watching the League of Legends games, But my friend, we decided to stay in a hotel rather than staying there because it was like sleeping on the floor pretty much when you were there. But he bought me a Team Dignitas hoodie, which I don't think they were like that like super popular back then. I'm pretty sure that would have been the OD days as well. And I remember staying in this hotel where there was a lot of like pro gamers because it was just across the road from DreamHack and that. But we ended up getting, because the hoodie was so just was not popular at all, and my friend was just carrying like this ridiculous sized like camera with him the entire time. They just assumed that we were on Team Dignitas, so we were getting past like all these barriers, getting introduced to like Huck, like Idra, like all these StarCraft players, and just ended up being like incredible. And yeah, it just made like the DreamHack experience like so much better just from wearing this hoodie, you know. But yeah, like everyone was super super nice, man. Like they easily could have just been like, you know, who's this guy? He's just just rolling around here with a camera, but just going backstages. And again, I think that's another thing with the gaming community as well, that you could take like any sport, do the very like a very similar thing to that, and you know, get like a very bad reaction, but everyone's just, you know, really sound, just yeah, like super friendly, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we myself and Odie mostly, but you know, I follow the lead. But we try to make Team Dignitors as a family, and we were basically all of us have you know, traveled. We've gone to places that we, you know, you never thought you would have. But it's, you know, thanks to, you know, how we organized it, really, the management that we had. We kept everybody in check. So I mean, at the time we had like Call of Duty, we had StarCraft 2.
Yep.
We had Quake, we had CS, we had fighting games. We had so many games at the time, so many people representing us, but yet we were all still like a family.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when, you know, we had our StarCraft 2 players, and I had Naniwa, who actually came over.
Absolutely brilliant, man. He was one of the Europeans that we would always consider, looking back, he would actually compete with a lot of the Korean players. You know, you'd have this division sometimes, like, with European players, you're just like, yeah, it's just another league. But Naniwa would be up there competing with some of the best Korean players, man.
Yeah, Nani was an amazing person, even though he had times when he was sort of like feel a bit tired or feel a bit angry at times with how he plays, because he's a very passionate person.
Mm-hmm.
So there was an EGX event, I think it was like 2012, 2011. And he actually had to play a StarCraft game, but we couldn't play in the hotel or anything. So I actually brought him back to my house, and he played on my brother's computer. And my mum made him tea, and he was very appreciative. And you know, there were times like Naniwa appreciated like the tea. I was like, oh, okay,
that's really cool, man.
Tea. But he appreciated it, and he got his game done and stuff like that. And you know, we went back afterwards. Yeah, he won. Like, the guy's crazy.
Doesn't even matter what the setup is, man. Don't blame the tools, man. I like that.
No, because we were sponsored by Razer at the time, so I already had Razer stuff here. Yeah. So it was fine for him, and yeah, he sat there on my brother's seat, and he played from there, and he loved it, and you know, he won his match, and then went back to NEC hotel, you know, and stuff like that. So he was practicing.
We actually met him at DreamHack. He was my friend, like basically held him hostage when he was trying to find the bathroom. He was like, I'll give you, he said, if we can get a picture with you, I'll tell you where the toilet is. So he got a picture with Naniwa, and there was just like toilets over there. Yeah, that was funny.
There are times when Naniwa can be a bit loose at times, but that's just him.
I mean, he was just like
so
down to earth for us, man.
He's so down to earth, but when he's in a game sort of situation, or he's been focused and he comes out again, that's when you see like you know, the Naniwa. And Odie's said to him he's one of the craziest sort of players to manage and stuff like that. I mean, Odie and Naniwa went back and forth with each other, but you know, Naniwa, to me, he's always going to be a great person. You know, I've never had anything bad with him. He's never had bad with me. So when he came here, appreciative. So I'll always have good things to say about Naniwa, even though, you know, he had his moments. But anyone and everyone has their moments, you know. So you know, I'm happy for that. And then who do we have? We had Show as well, who's now playing.
Show, that's right.
He's playing the card games right now, or he's playing Teamfight Tactics or something like that. And then one of my favorites, of course, is Select, the Korean player Select.
Yeah, he was literally one of my favorites. That's why I used to like Dignitas. I used to sit. I did notice he was streaming for a while. I haven't seen him stream StarCraft in a while, but yeah, like he was really good to watch. It was Terran used to play, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's Terran, but he's right now he's doing a master's degree in America.
Okay.
He's got a girlfriend and everything, so I still watch what he's doing. I still keep him. You know, it's important because to be fair, Select is an absolute smart guy, like ridiculous, like in what he does. When you look at his Instagram, what he's doing, he's absolutely smart, and you know, the way he played StarCraft along with Naniwa and along with Show, that was one of our top teams, especially when like Naniwa went through, I think it was Naniwa or Select, I can't remember, but one of them two went through the gauntlets of the lower bracket in MLG, and they absolutely came out on top, and it was like, how the hell did they even do it?
That's crazy.
So it was some of the best times that we had with MLG, and of course we had different teams, console teams, you know, we were starting console Gears of War, when we had one of our best outings. I think it was one MLGs where they came like top 8 or top 16.
Mm-hmm.
It was fantastic. Halo we had Call of Duty, racing games, FIFA, all that. And my time at Team Dignitors, it was fantastic. Right. So many memories. I still keep up with them. Some of them now got families, some of them got kids, and I feel so old when they say it. Some are getting married, and it's like I'm still holding the flag here for gaming. So it's like everyone sort of got that sort of thing. So I'm without them, and I'm the sort of person that says I'm the sort, like, people say I've done it, I do this, I've done all this myself, and but to be fair, for me, without those people, and they know who they are, whether it's Team Dignitors or in the Quake 3 teams years ago, without them I wouldn't be where I am. Always my credit will always go to them. No,
that was cool. See, sorry, you briefly mentioned earlier, just to touch on this again, about coaching like new starts, basically. One thing that always interests me as well is chatting about how like the current state of esports, like how they accommodate, I guess, best way to describe it, or how you would, as a new player, come up and play in competitive play. How easy do you think it is for, say, a random guy in his bedroom to just be like, you know what, I'm good at this game, I want to take it competitive?
Well, the biggest thing, right, is that there are so many people in their houses, right? Mm-hmm. So it could be bedrooms, it could be living rooms, wherever they play, right? And they're very good, but they don't know that they're very good. So there's a lot of untapped potential in many places. So it's getting them encouraged to come out and try it socially, and sort of, because a lot of it now is online. So they'll play online. A great example, of course, is FIFA. Yeah. And there's a lot of youngsters who play FIFA, and they're actually really good. But they don't know it until they start playing in these weekend leagues, these sort of leagues that they're hosted by EA. And then you see like these 30-0 weekend league wins, losses, and it's just like, how the hell?
That's just next level, yeah.
So and the potential's there, but it's trying to get them out to events, and that, it's maybe slightly easier now because we've got access to tournaments and stuff like that. Yeah. But getting them there is another thing. So it's encouraging them to come out and attempt it and see whether they're good or not.
Yeah.
And it's getting better. Back then, if I compare back then to now, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people I've played games or chatted to, they talk about like, if I wanted to, like, you'll get people to play high levels in MOBAs, and they say it's like really difficult to like get picked up by a team or get a team. And I'll like always compare it to other sports. So like, again, you take football, you take any other sport where you essentially have to be scouted by a team. You then go into tryouts for them. Like, I feel like that compared to, there's this online ladder. I guess it depends on the game, but if you come this online ladder where if you make the top, say, 100 people, you're so much more likely to just be like, wow, I've seen this guy's play, he would fit perfect into our team. Obviously, it depends on how many teams, depend on the sport or whatever, or the game, but I feel like it can be easier, again, depending on the game, to get to that pro level.
The biggest problem though is a person's mentality. So a lot of it at the time is that, like, we've said this many times, myself, Odie, and a few other people, is that you could be the best in the world no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't have the mentality and the attitude to come with it, then you're not even worth it.
Yep.
So it's always about, you can have the best skills in whatever you do, but if you have the attitude, and that's always going to be the first thing that people sees, is that not the skill of you winning, it's what they see afterwards, is the mentality, is the body language, it's all that. If you don't have the right thing like that, then you will never be considered for a team like that. It's only, it's only now when some people are getting in teams that sometimes they play up.
Mm-hmm.
So and you'll see people's attitudes on social media, and you see like that, and when you see people like
pick you up if you're that bad across platforms. Yeah,
exactly. But there are people who are in teams and they still have a bad attitude, but it's just because people can't say no to this person, or they can't find anybody else to replace them.
Yeah,
so it's a very hard thing. But if you if you're looking to start right, you've got to have the right attitude and body language and mentality to even get picked up. Otherwise, you could be the best in the world, and if you don't have them sort of three things, then there's no point in having you, because you won't represent the person that has recruited you. You won't represent the team that has recruited you well. And then you'll always be on there'll always be something about you on social media, videos, whatever, and it's always going to put you in the bad limelight.
Yeah, they've got to almost like project this image of you, and if it's not their standard or their ideology, it's going to be not worth it for them, is it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So another thing quite interests me as well when I was looking up your profiles on Twitter. Obviously, talk a bit more about like your current state of where you are just now. So currently, you're working at the University of Chichester. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Chichester. Yep.
Yeah, teaching eSports. So again, as well, like whenever I'm talking to, like, I'll use my parents again for an example. If I say like I'm watching an esport, or I'm watching a streamer, or even playing in competitions, my parents think it's, you're sitting watching somebody play a game and it's so hard for them to comprehend. And then for me saying, I'm interviewing a university lecturer who's teaching esports. These are all things that, like, I feel like that generation just will never understand, But could you like give us a clearer idea of, maybe what you teach and like the prospectus?
So, I mean, of course, this is the first sort of esports course in the UK that's actually covering everything. A lot of esports courses cover out there is esports, business management, and events management. And the big problem is that there's not enough jobs anyway for those sort of things right now, because a lot of the people who are doing those jobs are still young themselves.
Yeah.
So there's not enough sort of jobs. So you'll see like 60, 90 people doing this degree that has events management or business management and stuff like that, but there's not enough jobs out there for it.
Yeah.
Whereas the one that we're doing, as I've said, is all-rounded. And we're, like I said, I'm one of the first former professional players to actually be teaching.
Cool.
So I'm taking that. So anybody says they're the first, nope, I'm the first. So I will take
credit. Props, yep.
The credit is like Odie. So I've never really been selfish, but Odie said to me, sometimes you have to be selfish. So I'm taking that mantle.
Absolutely.
So I'm first form professional to actually teach, especially at higher education.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do, I'm treating this course like I'm in Team Dingators. So all the players, all the students there are getting what I did in Team Dingators as a player, as a coach, as a manager.
Yep.
So how I ran things, how I give them responsibilities and all that, what they need to be doing. They've literally stole the ball from me. So I had the ball in the center of the pitch. Mm-hmm. They've literally just stole it from me. They've been so well, and this is the first week as well. Okay. First week of teaching, and they've been absolutely amazing. They've already gone set up their own teams. They're looking to get prepared in university leagues and stuff like that. But going back to the course itself, it's not just about events management and business management. We've got that, but we're looking at the player, we're looking at the coach, we're looking at the managers, we're looking at everything. We're looking at the mentality and the attitudes. We're looking at the sort of zones, like how you get into mental zones. We're looking at the physicality. We're looking at nutrition. We're looking at everything that you could think of right now. So what League of Legends teams are doing right now. So when they hire a chef, nutritionist, psychologist, we're doing all that right now, and we're one of the first to do it. So but the biggest problem that most universities will have is that they don't have anybody like me to actually run it, because I've been and done everything.
You've been there, you've done it. Yeah, you've covered quite a lot of the roles. I think that would be like the biggest standpoint, is like finding somebody that would actually, it's one thing to just take in somebody. I feel like it's the same with any uni course. Someone comes in, teaches accounts, but they've never been an accountant, sort of thing. Like, why is this person teaching me? Where if you're somebody that's leading by example, you've coached, you've played, like, that's perfect, no?
Yeah, I've done that, and and I still play to this day, and the students keep trying to challenge me, which I'll let them challenge me at some point, and I'll just whoop their butts. But it's I have to. I've got to show them I've still got game. That's the main thing. So, but that we're one of the first courses to actually just go abroad broad spectrum of esports. We're tagged because the cool thing is that everything that we do is transferable skills to any other job. So whether you're doing like coaching or management, you can manage people within an office environment or a events environment or stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're doing
Do you teach
commentary.
players how to sorry to interrupt you. Do you teach players how to promote themselves across like these kind of platforms? Because there's a lot of the players that I've been contacting recently. One, it's actually quite hard to get a hold of some of these people, and I don't even think it's like they're intentionally keeping you out, just the way they've set stuff up, or potentially I know they're quite a big player, yet they've only got maybe 1,000 people following them on social media, and it almost feels like you could generate a lot more like following or interest around, one, the esport, and like two, the player themselves, but they almost haven't got the education to do it,
Yeah, I mean, there's that. I mean, again, it's a lot of new players. Newer players should be okay with sort of social media side of it. There's a lot of older players like myself. I mean, I have trouble with a lot of the sort of social media and how to do it, but a lot of my students are teaching me as well, so I'm grateful for that and stuff like that. But yeah, it can be slightly hard at times. Me, I don't like to have like I don't have tens of thousands of people anyway. I like to keep it as low number as I can. But for me, I'm sort of like the best kept secret, and that's how I feel at times. Yeah. Because a lot of people might not know what I do, but it's because of that they sometimes may be scared of what I can do.
Yeah, and it's interest as well. I think though, if you keep it like to a niche standpoint like that, like people will actually want to know what you do.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of people like yourself, like others, asking me about how I'm teaching, or I've had people from India and America asking me about how I'm teaching, or can you record, or can you give me advice about how you're teaching, stuff like that. And it's like I've actually said that. I haven't said yet, but I've thought to myself, I don't want to share it right now because I'm still
learning yourself,
learning myself, but also if I give it away, if I give the game away. There's a little bit. Well,
that's the thing. It's brand new. You don't want to give away. It does sound like a little bit daft, but to say like you don't want to give away your secrets essentially, because you're still testing stuff out as well. But two, like you honestly, what's stopping them just doing the exact same thing?
Exactly.
Weird, but
I think they
take that mentality. I think.
No, exactly, and I don't want to feel bad about like sharing details and stuff like that, but I need to sort it out myself before, anybody else can have it, or people might think about their own ideas, So, we all teach differently. Now, there are lecturers for esports in Staffordshire, Yorkshire, Teesside, I believe.
Yeah.
London.
But none of them are professional gamers, or were professional gamers.
No, I mean, actually, I think in Staffordshire, I'd say there was one who worked for Gfinity, so he was in the production side of it, and there's another one who did observing and stuff like that. So, and he did a bit of mid to high level League of Legends, but they've only had like 4 or 5 years, maybe plus 5 years plus in esports, whereas I go back to literally Millennium.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's
a massive selling point, I think, to have that length of time in the industry, like for the university to say, look, we've got a professional gamer, he's got this much experience, like why wouldn't you come here rather than somewhere else,
Yeah, and then the other thing as well is because I'm a badminton coach, I teach or I coach young children, adults, teenagers, you name it. So my teaching abilities and my coaching abilities are similar but different, in different environments.
Yeah.
So I sort of have like, along with gaming and coaching, I have maybe the best of both worlds for this.
Yeah. So sorry, excuse me. I was saying there as well. So out of all the different roles you've done obviously professional playing, coaching and teaching. Which one do you prefer the most, and like why?
I mean, it's very hard because every sort of role has had its ups and downs. As a player, as a coach, you win with the team, you lose with the team. As a manager, it's same thing. You win with the team, you lose with the team. Some managers out there, which I hate, always try to take credit for the players, and it's just like no. The players did all the work, you just guide them and stuff like that. And that's always been the case. Is like a lot of it's funny, console management, which is kind of annoying to me. Is like they think they're all that, and then they don't really have a clue. This was years ago. I could think of instances. I don't want to say names or anything, but there were one times when they look at me and they try to copy me, and it just doesn't work because they don't understand the actual principles of what I do.
Yeah.
So it's and a lot of it is just common sense, and unfortunately a lot of that side didn't have common sense. So it was a big problem then. Nowadays I don't know, some coaches I've heard stories of, and it's like, well, this is just again common sense, but they don't know it. So it's actually, I talked to an old friend of mine actually who used to be in Dig, and he was telling me about coaches, the coaches they have, and they were not really coaching. They were analytical, but they were never coaching the players. Themselves, if you know what I mean. Yeah. They were never coaching.
It's like, this is your stats, this is your KD, but not like physically coaching the person, as in like, this is how you control your nerves, this is what you should be doing or looking
after him. Yeah, exactly, looking after him. And that was the biggest problem. And a lot of these coaches who think they're coaches don't have those skills.
Yeah, it seems like such a basic thing that you should have. Like, people skills in any coaching role surely should be like your number one credential, no?
But this is the thing, going back to the course, this is why I say, like, with what we're doing at Chichester's, because we're a broad spectrum. So if you want to do like management and stuff like that, you get to manage people.
Yeah.
You learn it through eSport, the stuff that we're doing, that I'm teaching them. If you want to be, if you're like doing a commentary cast or hosting or broadcasting, anything like that, you get to be like a public speaker. So you get to be more confident in public speaking and talking to other people. If you're doing events management, of course, you get to do like the events management side. You get to do project management. You get to go into project management.
Yeah.
So a lot of these skills that we do at Chichester is very diverse, and it transfers into different areas. And that's what a lot of older generation won't understand, is that, when they say it, goes, oh, you're just playing games, and you're just watching other people play games. And it's like, well, you watch people play football. What's the difference?
Yeah.
And that's when that stumps them. You watch people play a sport. Why don't you go play the sport?
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So there's this thing about the old generation. Like, most of them are scared as well about it, because they see maybe their children playing games and they can't get them off, and they don't know what to do about it. But whereas I come into it, I educate the parents as well.
Yeah.
Along with, again, with some of my fellow friends.
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of it is they're just uneducated in it. They don't understand. Like, they still think it's like, from you just sitting in your bedroom playing games. They can't comprehend, like, so this guy plays games for a living. Like, how, that's what they're relating it to. You as a kid, playing games by yourself,
Exactly. And it's just that sort of focal point. We're getting to a point now, though, where it's getting a bit more, acceptable, because a lot of kids will play on their Xboxes or PlayStations or even mobile. I saw some of my old badminton lot, they were playing Call of Duty Mobile. I'm like, oh god, just play on a console, please. Don't play mobile Call of Duty. But they like it, Yeah. But that's their thing, and they play with their friends, and it's social and all that thing. So,
well, that's it. A lot of them was when you were younger. The social aspect wasn't part of it. Whereas now, like, they say, you should go out and play with your friends, and it's like, well, I can sit and be social here. As ridiculous as it sounds, I'm sitting chatting to 7 other people.
Exactly. You could go out for play football, or go out to the park, and then you come back and you spend time with them at night. Whereas you don't want your children out at night, because it's dangerous. There's people out there who are bad and stuff like that. But you can still have them chatting to your friend. You can still be chatting with your friends online, and that's the social side of it. And it's and that's a lot of the older generation don't understand. Unless the older generation have been in gaming, they won't understand it.
Won't get it. Yeah. Well, you were saying there, one of the things when I say it sort of stumps people, especially the older generation, when they talk about it, was there was a fact I saw online a while ago. It was saying that people under the age of 25 now, I think it was just in the US, now watch eSports. So it was like all the other national sports combined, there's more people watch eSports. I think it's 25 and younger. They watch more eSports than every other sport combined, and that sort of blew my mind when I read that. And saying that to like my parents and that kind of generation, it's just like, that's crazy. And I'm like, well, these people are all going to grow up, and if they're not watching like baseball, basketball, like they're not going to be watching it when they're older, likely. Maybe some might grow out of watching games and stuff, but it's only going to get bigger in my head when you see stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, and I can understand why parents are a bit afraid because, you know, they see their child on a computer or on a screen. They see all these bad stories on the BBC, on the CNN, all those news outlets, whatever. And then it sends a shock to their mind. You go, oh, no, I need to get my child off this, or otherwise he's going to turn into one of these zombies on Fortnite and spend £3,000. But it's the thing is like, the way I see it, when I try to educate parents, is to actually learn the basics of the game. Just learn the basics. You don't need to learn these sort of ups, ins and outs. You know, you don't need to learn how someone builds. Let's take Fortnite, for example. You don't need to learn how people build and stuff like that.
Yep.
You just got to learn that the fact that it's every man for themselves, every man or woman for themselves. It's 100 people or near to, and you got to be the last person standing, and you got to watch. And they use weapons and just the basics of that. If parents can understand the basics nowadays of what these games are, then it goes a long way into being with their child. You know, having that bond with the child. So a lot of the cool thing is I had one of the people that I sort of coached and his dad, and basically they said they play like on an off time, they play Call of Duty together. You know, he said he's not good at it, but it don't really matter. It's about the bonding. You know, and his son will show him how to like do stuff and try, and he tries, but his son will be more appreciative about him like playing and spending time with him. You know, whether that's badminton, whether that's gaming, whether that's football, whether that's going out. You know, it's
just making it relatable,
making it relatable. And unfortunately, a lot of parents who are, you know, in the older generation are very scared of it because they don't understand it.
Yeah, I totally get you, man. See, just dipping into something a little bit different here. Obviously, I did mention earlier. My channel does talk a lot about fitness. We give out like coaching, nutrition tips and everything like that. Like essentially a bit of online PT, and folk can come in and ask questions or wherever they want. But from your fitness side, like you said earlier as well, like you're a badminton coach as well, which is quite cool.
Yes.
And so how do you think, well, whenever you do badminton, how do you think that affects, like, because like I say, a lot of the streamers, or you will occasionally see people talk about online, I'll still work out even though I'm playing games, 14 hours a day in a competitive manner, to keep my mental state, good. How do you think that like sort of impacts like your way of thinking?
It impacts a lot because, again, sports and esports are actually similar. So whatever you do in a sport, it's similar to what you do in esports. So, when you're playing against someone solo, you're playing against someone solo in esports. You play against someone solo in badminton. You've got the mentalities mindset of trying to focus, trying to not freak out. Or there's so many similarities, and this is what we're doing in Chichester as well in the next few years, is about the psychology.
Oh, that's cool.
And understanding that. So, and even research about it. So there's so much going on, but there's just similarities, and that's what most people don't understand. When I do badminton, it's my hand-to-eye coordination. So I know how to hit the shuttle. I know where to hit the shuttle. I know where to place it. I know where to run around the court and stuff like that. So basically my mentality, my spatial awareness, my accuracy, my hand-to-eye coordination, all these 4 things that I've said affects my gaming as well.
Skills,
because I need to know spatial awareness. I need to know the map. I need to know what the best routes are. My hand-to-eye coordination, so when I'm aiming, when I'm shooting, my mentality. So if I'm in a tough predicament, I'm not gonna be scared or anything. I'm gonna cool myself. I can't remember, what's the other one I said? What's that? Mental attitude. I can't remember the one I said. I have to go. But yeah, it's like 3 or 4 there. But those are some of the examples anyway.
But yeah, the skills are like transferable. Yeah.
Exactly. So when it comes to gaming, and badminton, again, those sort of skills, teamwork. Because I play a lot of doubles, communication, awareness.
Communication's quite a big one. Yeah.
So there's so many transfers. So that's where I see the coaching and playing things. And, well, it's very important.
That's as well as badminton as well. I was quite good at badminton at school. I remember one of the old places I used to work, they used to try and promote being healthy. They would just let you go away for 2 hours, like over lunchtime, and they'd try and promote you to play squash. And one of the good things I loved about racket sports was I felt like a lot of older people would play them, because if you were good at, placing, say squash, the ball on places of the court without having to do too much, And I remember playing. I never played squash, but again, my hand-eye coordination was always quite good from playing like badminton and tennis and things. So it's like, this can't be too bad. And I remember these old guys, they were like in their 50s. I say old, not that old, but in their 50s. I'm like 22, 23. I'm like, I'm gonna smash these guys. Like these guys think they can beat me a game. I don't care if I haven't played it. It's just like, and these guys had lessons growing up because they'd gone to like private schools and things like that, and they just absolutely destroyed me, like just wrecked me. I just couldn't. I'm like chasing my shadow this entire time. I'm just like, this has to be one of the few sports where like you know, if you are actually that good, he just sits mid court and makes you do all the running. And I remember just being like so competitive. It's like, I am eventually going to beat these guys, and it just had such a competitive drive to it to, you know, just be like, I'm eventually going to beat these guys and get these guys running, you know. But man, it's one of those, compare that to, say, again, keep coming back to football. Like, you can't do that, you know. Like, you get to your 50s and a lot of folk are like, yeah, I can't play anymore, you know.
Yeah, and that's with professional football players, because I know a lot of them finish in their 30s, maybe sometimes early 40s, depending on if you're a goal. I think if you're a goalkeeper, you can go into your 40s, stuff like that. But with most like running, if you're defense, midfield, or attack, you go, you know, it's like your 30s or something that you retire. But with gaming and stuff like that, the beauty of it as well is that, you know, when you're doing a racket sport or anything like that, it's the running. And that is, you know, when you're running, when you're tiring yourself out, it's giving you endurance. So like, it's a healthy body, healthy mind aspect. When I see people in the gym doing like you know, weights and trying to build muscle, that's not the best thing to do for gaming, because you actually restrict yourself a lot. Whereas if you're doing a lot of like just running or, you know, gentle exercise and stretching and stuff like that, that's what's going to be more beneficial. Anybody that does sort of like, I think gym, I know you see them at gyms and stuff like that, how big and bulky they are. It actually can hinder them without them realizing, because of you know, how heavy your fingers are when you're adding muscle to your arms or stuff like that.
I think there's quite a lot of evidence suggests that, you know, from the cardiovascular side is a lot better for like your mental state. Again, primarily most of the stuff I'll do is weight training, and I'll also do like a cardio day as well. Even if I'm trying to gain weight and get bigger, I'll still do like you get a lot of people say, like, why are you eating less? Why are you still why are you still doing cardio when you're trying to, you know, get bigger? But if I don't, and I'm just, you know, just lifting weights, it gets to the point where it does affect my mental health, because I feel like I'm just getting bigger, and I can feel, you know, more tired as I'm, say, running to my car or something. You know, I end up being like, man, I feel unfit, so I've got to keep doing this, even though I'm still, you know, lifting as well. But when it comes to like esports and things, I totally agree. Whereas like, if you have a decent cardio routine, I'm not saying you can't, you know, go to the gym and look after yourself and lift weights if you want to, but to go and put on mass, or even like, because I mean, if you're working out, you get muscles in your hands, like you were saying there, like it would actually change how you're typing, you know, essentially. So
exactly,
like, it all would come down to like, I think if you were even to just like, some of these players would benefit from like, you know, a 30-minute jog a day, and I don't think they'd realize how much it would actually impact their mental state, you know.
No, of course, and but that's the teaching as well that I do at Chichester. So all these things that I've been through for the last 20 plus years is what's going to be crucial, and it's probably what's going to be you know, probably the best. You know, I could say, you know, being biased, but it's probably the most overall best.
Nah, man, you gotta be selfish, be biased, yeah.
You know, other people have their say, of course, but you know, we're the first to actually do all round, and you know that. You know, if others don't really take into that account about like event management and business management, because there's not a lot, because you're trying to spew out people for jobs that are not there.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you still compete at badminton? Do you like playing tournaments or?
Yeah, so I still compete. I compete sometimes in the official Badminton England tournaments.
Cool.
Compete in club level. I'm going to be actually coaching the University of Chichester, hopefully. So there's a lot of opportunities, but I'm really just trying to keep myself fit and, you know, maintain it, because last few weeks
as well, or would you just do badminton to stay in shape?
I just do badminton because there's you can burn off a hell of a lot in badminton. But like
I think any racket sport, to be fair, is the same. I think like, even if you are really good and you were like, I feel like you still have to do a decent amount of running, unless you're like playing someone that's way below your station, you know. Like if you get something like a semi-close game where there's only a few points in a game, you will be running stupid,
Exactly, yeah. So I'm happy with just doing that. I mean, I could go to the gym and do stuff, but being busy with this esports course going on and trying to deliver that, it's finding the time. I haven't had the time to really stream. I haven't had the time to go and play badminton. So right now, it's just trying to find my footing, basically, to get my scheduling and stuff like that. But yeah, I think once next few weeks, I'll get back into it, like badminton this week, and hopefully streaming when we get all the stuff ready and going. So yeah, it should be good.
You also mentioned their nutrition as well, so that's another big part of our channel where, to be honest, most of the stuff and a lot of the questions are normally weight loss related, and for me personally, I feel like it comes down to when people go pick up a PT or they look at all these things online, they'll get like a set diet, and some of them will be a massive jump from what their actual diet is, where they'll be chicken, rice, veg, like really healthy foods. But then they can only maintain it for a couple of weeks and they just sort of go back to their like old diet. So I try to promote the fact that like it's the portion sizes that people are eating just now are insane for what they should be, like way bigger. So I feel like I'm trying to promote just eating less calories than you should. Like it's that simple. Like if you aren't eating the best, like as in the quality of your food is not great, get how much you're eating down first, and then sort of clean up your diet bit by bit is maybe slightly easier for people. But for your nutrition, what is it you eat? Do you have like set meal plans you do, or are you pretty open with what you eat?
I'm pretty open. I don't really have a set plan. I mean, I'm old and it's very hard to get rid of the fat, my big belly. So I try. It's funny. It's like I sweat so much in badminton. Like I had last week a tournament and I literally was like a fountain of sweat running down my face and my arms, and it's just to show how unfit I was, really. But I try and burn it off. But yeah, it's like I'll probably eat back the way I can because it's just a habit of mine. Yeah. But like I stay away from energy drinks mostly. Okay. I never drink like Red Bull and Monster. I used to drink it sort of maybe religiously about 11-12 years ago, but I quit basically because it was anytime I drank so much it would I couldn't sleep, give me insomnia, it'll give me jitters. I have like shakes and all that because if I drink it, so it's sort of like the effects of it was actually playing, but it's like maybe being addicted to some sort of drug,
What's it? See, it was actually one of the questions I was going to ask later on, but it's the same with. So I'm basically a child. I don't drink coffee or tea or anything like that. So whenever I'm having caffeine, I'll either just take like caffeine tablets or I will have energy drinks, but normally like sugar-free ones. So like these 0-calorie ones, which to be fair, it's still like the buzz. I mean, they're equivalent of like drinking coffee pretty much without putting like milk and sugar and stuff. So for like maintaining your weight and stuff, it's good, but I'm always at the point where I basically know I should have more sleep, but in order to fit everything I want to do in the day, I end up having like 5-6 hours sleep, which is one, affecting fitness, and two, it just makes me tired all the time. So I need this like cycle. It's almost like you say, it is an addiction to the point where I need this. If I don't take the caffeine tablets or energy drinks now, I know I'll be falling asleep at my desk.
Yeah, I mean, I have tea mostly, to be fair, with a bit of sugar. But I mean, tea and the way it is, tea is a diuretic, so it actually sort of flushes out all the sort of bad stuff in your body. So I like the fact that I can have a tea, and then anything that's I've had liquid wise, maybe alcohol or something like that, it just gets flushed out. Along with this, So I'm happy like to have a bit of tea just to be a diuretic. But yeah, I don't go near Red Bull or Monster unless it's a mixer. Maybe if I go to a social night or something like
Red Bull,
yeah. I mean, that's the only time I have it these days is if it's a mixer. But I would never drink outright because of the effects that it has on your body. Mm-hmm. The effects it's had on me.
Is that your drink of choice? Vodka, Red Bull?
No, it's a JD and Coke.
JD and Coke. Man, that's a man's drink right there. Jeez.
Yeah, JD and Coke. Or even a cherry brandy and Coke as well, which tastes like cherry Coke. So it's there's little things there.
See, that's funny. I quite like like amaretto, Disaronno, and Coke for the same reason. So it tastes like Dr Pepper. It's again like super sweet, but yeah.
Oh, that tastes like marzipan, man.
Yeah, it smells like cake.
Yeah, it's like nah, I can't drink cake. It's like, but yeah, but that's the thing when it comes to sort of the drinks and like that's the big effects, so like with taurine and stuff like that, and aspartame as well.
You see a lot of gamers, actually not even just like you see a lot of streamers that are sponsored by a lot of these energy drink companies, and they're sitting with their mini fridge behind them full of it. And obviously they're not even the sugar-free ones; they'll be like the full-fat sugar ones. And
that's a big problem. Is like because they're gaming right now, they'll drink that, but give it a 10-15 years time, it will have an after effect. It's a slow but after effect, and that's why I really quit young. I quit. What was it, 2008 time? What was it, 2007, 2008? Something around that time. I made like a New Year's resolution. I said I'm not going to drink any more sort of caffeinated drinks like that. And what was it? I was just trying to think. It was I started having the jitters and the things because I quitted it, but I worked through it slowly, having like tea to drain it out or sweating it out, so it made me feel a lot better. And now I feel better about myself, even though I've got a fat belly. I still feel better about myself. And
it's very similar to the way that when I first started eating healthier, it was cutting out fizzy drinks in general. So like Iron Brew and Coke and stuff, I would have like 3 cans a day previous to getting healthy, and just cutting that out. And so basically now I'll just go like 6 days just drinking water, and I'll have one day where like a cheat day essentially, which I can eat and drink what I want. But for that first week or 2 weeks even, I was getting migraine shakes. It was like I was almost a junkie coming off of like an addiction.
Exactly, and I feel bad for some of these players who are like sponsored by them. I don't want to disrespect like the companies that do it, because it's their money and it's their it's their livelihood and stuff like that. But the effects that it has on you,
like professional games as well. Like we're saying that obviously they're not good for you consistently to drink them, but the amount of money they put into these games, like a lot of them wouldn't be anywhere without them.
Exactly, and I can't disrespect that, but I know for a fact from my own sort of my own experience that has the effects is, and I feel bad for like when these people are still drinking it, and then when they retire or they go to do something, they're not going to have the best shape.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's very disconcerting it's very concerning, I should say, about what's going to happen to them in the next
few years,
10 to 15 years. Yeah.
Okay, so normally to finish, what I'll do is I think I did mention earlier, like a quick fire question round. So it's like just gonna ask the questions. You just gotta try and answer them as quick as you can. All right, manage that.
I just seeing what else you were written about. So you said fitness, watch sports, esports streamers. So just seeing the topics that you're in. What does the future hold for you and stuff like that?
Yeah, still got a few. Again, normally I'll just finish with these questions and then give you the opportunity to say what you plan to do in the future, and like basically plug in your stuff so you can help promote yourself a little bit at the end.
Well, I'll just answer the watch sports, esports streamers one. So I watch all my old dig streamers.
Okay.
So the old guys, I'll always watch them. Not really many sort of entertainers. There's only a few entertainers who are actually
you're mostly
like
watching players that are actually like really good at what they do, rather than people that are just like funny and only okay at the game they're playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
And that sometimes annoys me, but it's their job. It's how they act. So it's like, go
You're basically
ahead.
describing me, man. I'm like nowhere near like top level player of any game, but like I just feel like I provide some information and like a little bit of banner. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. So and then when it comes to sports and esports, it's just generally badminton and any other esports out there. So I generally have to watch everything as best I can, because again, when you're teaching esports, you have to be with the times.
Yeah.
Your students will ask you about what's happened, or you have to ask them basic questions about what's happened this weekend or what you've been doing, and you keep up with them. So it's nice to watch everything as best as possible.
Okay, so let's go for these questions. So first one, your favorite first-person shooter?
Quake 3 Arena.
Boom, easy. Favorite city you've ever traveled to?
Kunshan in China.
Oh, cool. Favorite fast food?
Shredded beef chili.
Biggest rival could be a team or a player.
Biggest rival?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Jesus Christ.
Anyone who just like couldn't win or just always wanted to play them again, never got the opportunity
to. That's really hard, because I never really had rivals. To be fair,
No.
we were all like,
just all
even if we were in different teams, we were all mates. I think if I put it out there, I guess it'll probably be Odie. Because the fact is, so here's the thing is like
a lot of best game Quake.
Odie's best game is Quake, Quake 3 Arena and Battlefield. But Quake 3 is where, if I had one opportunity to go against him, probably Quake, especially if I can get the flag past him.
Yeah.
So he was always one of the best defenders in the UK. So for me to get past him at times, for him to even acknowledge me, so Odie would be the guy I'd love to have one more
just
go against. But he's been my rival. He's been my friend. He's been my mentor. He's like family. He's been everything to me.
Organized, man. I'll rehost that. That'd be great.
There's that. But I've known his family as well. The funny thing is, his oldest daughter, she was born the same year I actually met him and got into Quake 3. So every time I see his oldest daughter, who's at university now, it reminds me of how many years I've known Odie and the family and stuff like that. So it's, we're again without him, I wouldn't be where I am, really. So,
you can have like friendly rivals. A lot of my friends as well still like StarCraft days. I think how close we are, but like if we just started playing StarCraft 2 again, man, that just goes out the window.
I don't really consider people rivals. It's people only consider me rivals if they're jealous of me or if I've beaten them. But I've never really, for me, my rivalry with a lot of the players has always been friendships. We've been on different teams and it's always been friendships.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
I can't remember one time there's been anything
like proper rivalry
really,
or like any BM.
It's never been that because I've always been
just a nice dude, man. Just a nice dude.
Humble and honest with people as best I can.
Like any sport, I think,
and but Odie would be my friendly rivalry. I think if there's anybody else, it's really hard to say.
Cool. That's cool. That's a good enough answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so worst game you've ever played?
Stalker.
What's that? Stalker?
Just
Google this now. Stalker.
Just look it up.
I don't know. I should be typing Stalker game into Google, but there we go.
Yeah.
Shadow of Chernobyl PC game. Jesus. Okay.
just terrible. So I mean, actually, I want to go back quickly before I get back to Stalker. 2006, 2007, 2008 was the introduction of CGS.
Yeah.
Championship Gaming Series. Mm-hmm. Odie was one of the captains in Birmingham Salvo, and he said this in his podcast, but he didn't pick me. I had two chances and he didn't pick me. He had two chances to pick me. He didn't pick me, even though it was good. When you get asked about it, and when I get asked about it, do you feel bad? It was at the heat of at the moment. Yes, okay. I do. I felt angry and stuff, but it wasn't because of him. It was because of the fact that I should have performed.
Yeah. It's almost like you're disappointing yourself because you feel like you should have.
Yeah, I should have performed better, and I had a chance. If I won one of the games, I would have been in like a Salvo or London Mints. But due to my own failure at the time, I can't blame Odie for that at all. Again, it's business, and he had some of the best players, and to be fair, with those players, he wouldn't have been world champion in 2008 for CGS. So, do I feel? At the heat of the moment, yes, I felt angry, but that was with myself, not him.
Yeah.
Do I feel that he did the right thing? Yes, he did.
Probably.
If anybody sort of goes, "Oh, you still blame Odie for that?" I was like, no. Again, I only blame myself for not being better than I should have. But
I think it's quite a mature attitude, though. Like it's sort of, I think a lot of people could just turn around and go, "That's his fault, man." Again, I think it's not even just game related. You see that in sports and stuff all the time as well, where it's very easy to just point the finger. Especially in team sports, or even team games, you just blame somebody else for. I feel like it sounds stupid, but if you blame yourself for a lot of stuff that genuinely is your fault, you generally will feel more happy because I feel like it's like you're in control, you know?
Yeah, you're in control of yourself, but and then you know what you need to
Improve on.
improve on. Yeah, so exactly. So, but that's what I go is like, when I say to my students, I've been making mistakes at the university. I'm going to make mistakes because I'm new. So, and that's how I want the students to feel because they're new as well.
Yeah.
So it's having that. So basically, me being new and them being new, we're all in this together. So we're all looking after each other. So that's what makes it, making it worthwhile right now. But yeah. So and then Stalker, we had a tournament, at Insomnia one of the years.
Is that first person shooter? I've just seen the.
It was a first person shooter. They did a multiplayer bit of it, and it was just so terrible. It was awful, and we lost by one frag, but it was because the other team was using the exploits, and the admins was going, "Well, it's part of the game." I was like, using an exploit for my game. I was like, "For me," I was like, "Yeah, it's one of the worst games ever."
That's
yeah,
funny,
it's one of the worst moments as well. But you know what? I mean, that's the way it was. That's how it was made, and basically the exploit is that if you can lean, right? So like you can lean in Call of Duty. If you lean to one side, I think it was if you lean to the left behind a wall, you were invisible. So
you assume must be a bug in the game, not like a feature. Yeah.
So they can see you, but you can't see them, and they can basically shoot through. It's like an invisible bug, and it was so frustrating. And
sounds like something that would never work in competitive play unless it was fixed.
No, but I think it's happened in Battalion as well, actually. So Battalion, of course, 1944, they've had a few bug fixes where when people lean past a wall, the person who is leaning from the wall sees more than the person who is away from the wall.
Right, okay, yeah.
So there's bugs like that, and that pissed me off so hard.
In competitive play, it is quite funny because when you go back and look at, like, say, Brood War, for example, I think it's the same with any game that with these little bugs and knacks, like they don't seem like that big a deal when you're playing with even at like a normal standard, not even super competitive. It's not that big a deal, but from a professional level, people will abuse and utilize like these little functionality glitches, whether they're meant or not, to like the best of their ability, and they can just ruin games completely unless they're patched,
Yeah, exactly. So for me, competitive-wise, Stalker was the worst game ever.
It's quite funny because asking that question, some people have told me like they'll go back to old school games. Like one of the StarCraft players interviewed, I think he was talking about like an old dinosaur game he played as a kid, and then others talk about a competitive game where, I got beat because of this. It's just funny how people's brains go to like one or the other. It's funny.
Yeah, but it was Stalker all the way. It was just so horrible to play, and it was very campy and all that. It was trying to be a CS and another game at the same time, and it just. Oh, even talking about it hurts my head. It just
gets the rage going. It's funny.
Yeah, it's blood boiling. I need to like find it and then delete it straight away.
Okay, next question was favorite subject in school.
I had 3 actually. Well, 2 actually. PE and music. PE and music.
Oh, PE and music. All right, yeah, cool.
Yeah,
nice. MOBA or RTS?
I want to go half, but if I say right now, the more I'm playing right now is MOBAs. So
MOBAs? What MOBA are you playing, sir?
So MOBA wise, it's a bit of League at the moment.
Okay.
Sometimes, it's a bit of League. But I think like I have both of them I like. So it's like with RTS, it's StarCraft 2.
Yeah, good man.
And with MOBA, it's League. So they don't have the things, but yeah, I said MOBA, but I'm like halfway down the middle because I play both. So it's like MOBA again is League, half and half. So League and then StarCraft 2.
Okay, cool. Favorite streamer?
Favorite streamer?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
This is what you say. You watch all your friends here, so you're basically way to say one, and the other 3 are gonna be like, thought I would be your favorite man. That's cool though.
Yeah, I'll be Public Enemy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 after it. If everybody, if I say comedic sort of streamer right now, it's Morph_UK.
Okay, yeah.
So he's currently online right now, and he does the game called Dead by Daylight, and he is so hilarious.
Does he play Killer or Survivor or both?
He plays both.
Yeah.
He plays mostly Survivor, and he takes the piss out of them, and it's hilarious. And his channel is so bloody good. So Morph, I actually, when I was working with Scan Computers, he was one of the ones I first signed up to have a sort of sponsorship with Scan.
Okay, cool.
I think he still has it now, but yeah, Morph is an absolute beast. I met him at some of the Twitch London stuff. Lovely guy, really comedic. If I went for like esports wise. Oh, that is even more tougher because it's hard.
There's some controversy here, I can tell, man.
Yeah, I mean, you watch I'm a Cutie Pie, you watch Shifter from League, but then you go to Fantasy from Call of Duty and Battalion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard that way. But comedic wise, it's Morph. Morph is absolutely hilarious.
Just out of curiosity, have you ever met Damaga? Is it Damaga?
Damaga, yeah. The Ukraine is no, it's not Ukrainian.
No, I'm sorry, no, I'm thinking of someone else now. The name's just drawn a blank. It wasn't Damaga. Yeah, that is the Ukrainian StarCraft player. Oh man, I forgot his name now. I don't know why I'm blanking. He was a StarCraft UK. I follow him, and I don't know why I'm blanking. I'm just gonna get his name up here because it's gonna annoy me if I don't.
The Muslim.
The Muslim. That's it. Thank you. Yeah. Have you met him in real life before?
Yeah. So the funny thing was, I met him in 2005, 2006, because it was ESWC.
Yeah.
So it was one of the first iterations of ESWC, and basically he qualified for Warcraft 3, and I qualified for Trackmania at the time, so the racing game. I actually played in Quake 3. Not Quake 3, Quake 4. And I didn't qualify, so Odie says to me, "Why don't you go play Trackmania? You like other games?" So I was like, "Yeah, why not?" And I qualified for it. So
cool.
It was hilarious. So I had a second chance. But we both traveled to France, and Ben has always been a great friend of mine, even though we don't at the moment talk at times. We're busy with our lives, but I always talk to him as best I can. But I tried to look after him in ESWC because he was a young lad. He still had hair. He was a great lad. He was funny. And the funny thing was I had pictures. He sent me pictures of him when he was at a party with some girls, and I've still got these pictures of him when he's with these girls, and like back in school, college days, and it's hilarious. And I still remind him of it at times. So like, do you remember this time, Ben? It was like, oh fuck's sake.
But yeah, you always say like your best friend's got to have like, if he hasn't got embarrassing pictures or videos of you on his phone, he's not really your mate, is he?
No, but Ben has always been a class person, in and out. Always had respect for him. Everything that we've done. When I see him at events, I haven't seen him in a while at events, because he's living in Sweden right now with his girlfriend.
Well, I've met quite a lot of like. It's just one thing I liked as well. Like when I've done all these, going to these events like DreamHack and things like that, or these tournaments, met quite a lot of like streamers. And again, I feel like, even just not even just streamers, like professional gamers or coaches even. But you don't really get the opportunity to do that if you're following like other sports. I think I was lucky in the fact that I did these things when esports was still developing and people were coming about, so it was easier to do that. But yeah, that's just someone I've never actually had the opportunity to meet, but I've been watching his stream quite a lot when he plays StarCraft and things like that. And again, he's quite an amusing dude to watch. So, but
yeah, Ben is an amazing guy. And the funny thing was at ESWC 2006, he was forced to change his nickname. Of course, it was the Muslim, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But because it had Muslim in it,
it had to be changed.
The Saudi Arabian guys, or the Arabian type Islamic, those guys were pissed off about it, and they complained to ESWC. So he had to change his name to his last name and his first initial. So it was basically he was playing as a Baker B.
Right. Okay.
So rather than the Muslim, so he had to play as his last name, first initial, so it was Baker B.
I didn't realize he was forced to change it. That's funny, man.
Yeah, because all the Saudi Arabians and the Pakistanis and Indians and all that were very controversial about it because it had Muslim in it, and it said so it was a tough time back then.
Yeah, I mean I get it, man, but you got it's a username,
Yeah, it's a username, and it still didn't matter because he did very well. He got out of the boxes, he got out of the group stages, so he did very well. but yeah, and it was cool, and when he went to StarCraft 2, he did well along with Bling. It was one of the players I wanted in Dig, but we couldn't have him, which was a shame.
That'd been a cool addition, actually, yeah.
But we had Bling as well, so Bling was a top Protoss player for Dig. Apollo as well, so Apollo became world champion.
Apollo was like a funny story about that, actually. This is a bit Apollo, because when I knew him, he was just a caster. He never actually played, because I think he used to play Warcraft, didn't he?
No, he played Command and Conquer.
Command and Conquer, sorry, that's what it was. I knew he had an RTS background, obviously, but so that same DreamHack trip, we met so many people, because we actually met Total Biscuit on the plane on the way over, and then when we were there, because I had this hoodie, one of my friends was like making jokes that I looked very similar to Sean, and I remember being like, I don't see it, I don't think it is. There was a guy that was on Team Dignitas in the hotel we were there who like tapped me on the shoulder, and he was like, "Where have you been?" And I was like, "Who are you?" I had no idea who he was, and he thought I was Apollo. And I was just like, I didn't understand it anyway. And then I remember the last day, I was brushing my teeth, and like we're in the DreamHack, it was like communal toilets, so obviously everyone coming in brushing their teeth as well. And this guy just like stared at me and then ran away, and I was like, what the hell was that? And 5 minutes later, he runs back and he's got a bit of paper, and he was like, can you sign? I think he assumed that I was Apollo, and instead of like just telling the kid that I wasn't him, I just signed it. And he ran off. I was just like, I can't be bothered explaining, it's the last day. But that was quite funny, man.
Yeah, so Apollo we got as well, and then of course, God bless his soul, Total Biscuit, who I met when he did one of the tournaments with Apollo casting. That was hilarious. And the one funny time was we had boxes in the iSeries, so we had a box to ourselves when we were in Telford. We had like our private box.
Oh, that's really cool.
Stuff like that. And a lot of teams had private boxes, so we had our own private box. And Total Biscuit, he was a lovely guy. He is a lovely guy. At the time, and we invited him to come and join us for drinks and stuff like that, and he was always very receptive, but very humble and stuff like that. He hung out with Apollo, and then we invited them all in. There was this one time that we played Street Fighter, and he says, "I'll play you at Street Fighter." I was like, okay. And he was good. Fucking annoyed me.
To be fair, you don't invite someone to play a game unless you're a god, surely.
But he was good. He was on the joystick, and he played. He played with myself, Zachabus, and a few other players at the time, and he beat me. And he holds that win over my head forever now.
I can imagine.
Which is kind of hilarious. But it's the times that we had with Total Biscuit. That I'll always remember, like the times that we talked, and the times that we talked about, like not just StarCraft, but as teams went on, eSports itself, you name it, we talked about it a lot. And he was such a great guy, despite what people might think about him, and has the cynical Brits and what he said online and stuff like that. In person, he was just one of the best people.
That was the thing as well. Like, he covered so many games. Like, his ability to just chat about any game and have an opinion on it. And I think, like, if you're like a broadcaster, a caster, or something like that, I feel if people don't actually not dislike you, but if they don't have like, well, that was pretty blunt or whatever, like, you have to have these almost controversial opinions about games and players and things, because it's what your job is, to ask these questions or things like that. Because I remember at times you used to have you'd have falling outs with Idra, the StarCraft player. I remember the last tournament we actually went to that they were both there, but again, it was like he prompted a question that obviously hit a nerve, but it wasn't like he's intentionally being bad-mannered, It's like, I almost felt like saying, like, this is his job, he's supposed to ask these questions,
Exactly, yeah. And he was never shy of asking, and at the end of the day, he did his job. And only the people behind the scenes, or people public, will never really know what it was like. And it's a shame, because he was a really kind person. He cared about his family, he cared about eSports itself, the things he did, the co-op podcast and stuff like that, the co-optional podcast. He cared about everything, and it's a shame he passed away. But I'll always remember the fact that he was one of the best in like what we did.
He did a lot for eSports, man. He really did.
He did, yeah, and he'll always be remembered in that way.
So finally, because honestly, I could sit and just chat about games all night, man. but finally, Ram. So what I was going to say to finish off, I try and give a little bit back to people that are listening, maybe people that are trying to achieve similar stuff to where you are, what you're trying to do. So for new listeners, or even just listeners in general, what advice would you give somebody if they're wanting to pursue a career in esports, whether it's be a professional player, a commentator, a coach? What like tidbits could you give somebody that wants to do something similar to you?
So, I mean, teams and companies are not going to recruit you if you don't have some sort of portfolio or something behind you. So it's nice to try and maybe make a portfolio yourself, a CV. Or if you're a player anyway. So let's go back a second. If you're a player, it's always good to go play in the community leagues or like online ranked or stuff. Any game that has a ranked, so people see you and see your name and try your best to get high and high. And then if you can, join teams that are around that level. I mean, with all the forums like a Reddit or a Twitter or something like that. Anyway. Generally, just get yourself advertised and noticed, and stream as well. Get yourself sort of out there. Basically, get yourself noticed in a way that would be unique. It's very hard because everyone sort of copies each other. But what do you bring to the table? And that's what I say to a lot of my students as well. Is what do you bring to the table? Are you analytical? Are you aware? Are you can you talk?
Yeah,
like
perfectly, what makes you stand out,
yeah. These sort of things, get yourself noticed. This is the way, not by doing silly things, of course, but like I says, if there's leagues, go out and play, get yourself noticed. With FIFA and Overwatch, teams start to notice like top 500, sort of thing, or people who are top 100 and that sort of thing. So get yourself out there, practice as best you can. If you're going to be like I said, a broadcaster, I'll go back to the portfolio stuff. So do like recordings of games and with a voiceover and see how you do it, and then sort of get yourself and look for stuff on social media, or look for companies like Belong, like Insomnia, like an ESL, like Face It. Get any of these companies and get yourself sort of notice that how could I go about, being a host or something like that, or what can I do? And if I say, we need a portfolio or we need some sort of evidence, then at least you have that, So it's just building yourself as not just a person, but as a role, as a model, what you want to do.
Okay, that's cool. I think that's some decent advice to end on. So I really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule, Rams, to speak to us. I don't know if there's anything else you want to finish on you'd like to say to anybody that's listening. Again, I'll plug all your social media stuff at the bottom so people can find you. Again, same with like your university and stuff. I'll link their website so people can go on and look at that too. I know obviously term time is starting just now, so obviously it'd be next semester they'd have to start in it.
Well, I've started this year, so I've started. I've had my first 2 weeks at the university teaching, so it's been good. So
cool.
But yeah, to sort of end it, thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome, dude.
I know a lot of people have started to come out and try and ask me questions and stuff like that, but I'm always happy to go on a podcast or anything like that and talk about. Shout out to again. Well, Chichester University, of course, and all the students there, who are under my tutelage right now, and currently playing games and doing their work and all that, and them also. Shout out to, of course, Odie. Without him, I wouldn't be where I am as a gamer. Shout out to the family as well, my family, because again, without them, I wouldn't be inspired to be where I am.
Yeah,
really, and if they didn't give me the chance to prove myself, I wouldn't be where I am. So family is that. A lot of my friends as well, gamers, the old Team Diggitors, so from 2006 to 2016, all them lot as well. So whoever's involved then, they know who they are, still speak to them. I think that's it, really. You can catch me on all my socials as well, which is just R2K. So the word just, JUST, and then R2K. It's my Facebook, it's my Twitter, it's my Twitch, it's my Instagram, it's my LinkedIn, it's everything basically. And yeah, shout outs to all your audience as well. Cool. Again, if they want to get in touch, they can ask a question on the social media. As you asked me on Twitter, my DMs are always open. If anybody wants advice or anything, I'll be happy to try and do my best to guide people.
Cool.
And shout out to my badminton lot as well. Without them, I wouldn't be in badminton as well. So
get a fitness one in there, good man.
Yeah, gotta get them in. And one of my players actually won a gold medal today, so I'm happy with that.
Props, man.
So I'm happy with him. He's won 3 silver medals, and this time it was the gold. So I'm happy for him.
Nice one.
And yeah, I think shout out to everybody in esports and everybody who is trying to improve esports in the UK and everybody that I work with. There's a lot of names. There's too many names, but they know who they are. And if they don't know who they are, I'm sure they'll probably message me on one of the social medias and shout at me. Usually, you forgot me, you forgot this, you forgot that. And I was like, well, hang on, How many people do I know over 20 years? Thank you very much. Jesus Christ. So yeah, thanks to all of them. And yeah, thank you to anybody who appreciates esports and everybody who is into the scene.
Cool. Oh, man, that sounds like a good place to end. Thanks for listening, guys. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like and subscribe. It really helps me and the channel out a lot. And it also keeps you up to date with all the new guests too. Cheers. See you.